This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
The Trump tariffs have been released. Can we
Boom.
say release the
That
hounds?
just happened. It's the biggest, most violent boom in the history of today.
Oh boy.
I'm telling you, man.
There's something.
Here we go. What is it I've been saying for
Here
a
we
while?
go. There we went.
Yeah, that implies that it's not going to go do something just as crazy tomorrow or the next day or next week or next month. You know, one of the things that I've been saying from the very beginning of this year, actually going all the way into right before the election last year, is, hey, just everyone take a beat, just because we know what happened with Trump 1.0.
Okay.
And no one could control that. No one could control it. Here we are, Trump 2.0. I am not saying that there aren't some positive things that can absolutely come out of this. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying the markets don't like it very much.
They sure don't.
And the whole point of this show is understanding our finances in a way that one day we can quit working and do the things we really want to do.
Goals.
I know, real goals. So what we're going to have is a lot more of this, a lot more of a little bit of circus tent, P.T. Barnum, and crazy people, and I'm fresh out of crazy pills. So I don't, it's here we go. I mean, that's all I can say.
That's
we can't
right.
control any of that, but we do need to know how to protect ourselves in some of these situations. That's what really we need to be talking about today.
So let's talk about what we can control.
Yeah.
Obviously, that
Yes.
is your job here to help us figure that out. So obviously people have thoughts, but whose thoughts do you lean into when it comes to what the market will do? We have said before, time and time again, nobody has a crystal ball. Citi's Kate Moore was on CNBC, and she was talking about how it's no time to add risk to your portfolio. Here's what she said.
If you have a portfolio that is fully invested, we're going to sit tight and think about being a medium and long-term investor. But if you have cash that you were looking to deploy, the uncertainty factor, whether it's in bonds or in equities, was too great for us to have a really convicted call. Like, money is made while you're being patient. We want to be thoughtful about when we re-enter the market or we think about adding to risk. But I would also note the uncertainty factor is just starting.
Some of the things she was saying there, John, it seems legit, but also, again, thinking about the folks that you work with that are in their late 50s, early 60s, all of this stuff about be patient and the money will come, the long game, all these things, that doesn't work for somebody who's close to or just entered into retirement.
Well, we hope that we would have had a slightly better game plan going into that, right? So she said a lot of things, and I agree with a lot of them. There's a lot of cliches.
Okay.
When it comes down to it, the reason that people do very poorly at investing over the long run is that they get hung up in the short run or the immediate now.
Okay.
And so when you're looking at headlines, and almost every headline we see is probably something pseudo-negative, or even if it is a positive headline, there's some gray area that makes us uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't help us retire, right? So, when you really think about what we can all do, I don't know that patience is always the greatest thing when it comes to investing. I think the best thing we can do is establish a guideline and a framework and a plan that we can adhere to. Because I promise you one thing, people like my uncle, he is what a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
He is so generous with so much of his time and things like that, but he cannot handle the fluctuations of more than 3 or 4%. He just almost always makes the wrong decision, almost
Really?
always. So we had these conversations. And so what we did is we removed almost all of that wiggle room out of his portfolio.
Okay.
We really did. Now, is he not going to be able to get to retirement? No, of course he absolutely can. He's just not going to have some of those home run years, right? He's not going to be able to sit around the water cooler one day and say, man, I had this one, stock and it was up 52% last year. Why? Because he's not going to hold it long enough. When as soon as it goes down 4%, he's going to sell it, then he's never going to have that story. So instead of telling him to be patient, we just took that opportunity right out of his portfolio. And here's the craziest thing. Because interest rates have been higher, there are very attractive things out there. Heather, he still has double-digit returns from the last couple of years in his portfolio. He just is not going to have any of those absolute home runs. And what he's learned is he's completely content with that. So when I hear someone say cliches like, oh, we just need to be patient, we just need to ride it out. Here's my point. The money that you want to have risk with, use risk tolerance with that portion. And understand, you could have a 15% down week. It could happen, but hopefully that's money that you're not going to need for the next 10 or 15 years, right?
Okay.
Now, there's other money that all of us should have. Every one of us should have another bucket of money, and that is you cannot afford to lose this money bucket, period. That's what it is. And that is meant to do one thing, to be preserved and to generate income for your future. Back in the day, this is what a pension was.
Yeah.
It's what a pension was. And here's the craziest thing when you look back about how wonderful, and I mean this, how wonderful some pensions were. You didn't even pay into that pension as a worker back in the day. The company put that money in for you. You didn't even put it in. Wasn't even your skin in the game. Now, technically, your skin was doing the work that allowed them to put that in for you, but you didn't have to put that in.
Right.
It was only after Ted Benna, the creator of the 401k, came up with this miraculous concoction where they could tell the employer, hey, we're going to save you a fortune. You're not going to have to pay for these people for going forward. We're going to give them the total freedom to screw it all up on their own, and you don't have to put any more money away for them unless you want to. That's what he did. And they sold that to the American people as freedom to plan your future. And what did we do? Well, here we are, and some of us have done exceedingly great jobs of saving our money in those 401ks. And others of us, we kind of look around going, feel like I should have more money in here. How come I don't have more money in here? Well, because we didn't put as much in, right? Yeah. Or we spent it, or we took loans against it, or all of the other things that happen. Yeah. But the whole point where I was going with that is pensions were great, but that was money that as long as that company was still in business, you knew that you were going to get paid. Right. That was your can never lose it money. And you knew, even if it was $500 a month or $1,500 a month or $5,500 a month, that was going to come in like clockwork.
Okay.
So you didn't have to worry about squandering your entire future because you had that income needs. Now, what we all have to do is establish how big should that bucket be in our portfolio? How much money? Let's assume we've saved $1.5 million. If you've saved $1.5 million and you're in your early 60s and you want to retire in a few years, now, we don't know what the market's going to do, and we don't have to. But if we realize you really need, of that $1.5 million, you really need about 900,000 of that in a place that you can just earn an income from. And you can earn pretty good incomes because interest rates are pretty high right now. You can typically create income streams of somewhere between 5 to even up to 8% income stream and not have any risk of principal.
Okay.
There's all kinds of strategies to do it. It's not a product. It's a design to create an income stream. So if you do that $900,000, you may have tens of thousands of dollars a year. In this example, let's just say we get about $50,000 a year of income from that $900,000. Now, that also left $600,000 in our portfolio. That you can decide how risky do you want to be with that other $600,000. But at no point in your retirement situation should you risk that $900,000. Why? Because you need it. Because if you had that $50,000 coming from that safe bucket and then you had Social Security, right? That is an okay existence. You can live to fight another day no matter what the markets do. Now, most people, they don't have pensions anymore and they don't design their portfolio this way. But ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly how we design every portfolio, Jagan Capital, because there is some money that we can potentially take risk with, which means that we could potentially lose it too. Just like this year has not been a fun game for most people. But if we never had to worry about it because we had our safe bucket that we can never lose, and we know that it can turn on income when we need it, guys, that's how we can sleep at night.
Right.
That's how come we don't have those cold, clammy hands and freaking out, and our spouse is always uncomfortable, and you almost can't even share a dinner together without someone just being unhappy or they get indigestion. Why? That's what stress does. That cortisol builds up and makes us just not be great functioning people, right?
Yeah.
But it's completely avoidable.
Okay.
But it just means that we have to understand how have we designed this portfolio for not just as we're growing the money and working, but we really have to establish it to where we can't fail, even if we do have an administration that wants to, throw all caution to the wind and negotiate with the whole world all at once, or the previous administration, which basically did a whole bunch of things that no one really understood. And we'll find out if it was all going to be terrible in the end or good in the future. We couldn't control anything there either. Point is, no matter who's in charge, we will not have control of the economy. We can, however, have control over our personal economy. That's the portion that matters.
And that's the bigger conversation, because what's been going on in the markets because of the Trump tariffs and all of these things in the past few days and weeks. How many administrations are you going to see in a 20 or 30 or 40 year retirement? That's
Well, a minute. Yeah. So, I mean, you can just do the simple math. In
Yeah.
20 years divided by 4, you have a minimum of 5 different potential administrations at a minimum. So when you think about it in that way, what does that mean? It means that things are always going to be in flux. It's okay.
everything changes.
Yeah, it's going to be okay in the end, but I disagree with just being patient and putting your head down. I think that you have to have zero patience and making sure that you align your strategy today for what we know is going to happen in the future.
Okay.
What do we know is going to happen in the future? The market's going to go up and the market's going to go down. And it could do the same thing in the same day. It could be one trend one day and another the next. And it just goes that way. If that's too much, change your strategy. Guys, there's all kinds of stuff that's out there. Heck, money markets are still paying over 4% at the moment.
Okay.
I'd much rather earn 4 than lose 40
Right.
on money that you can't afford to lose, right?
Yep.
Because the whole point is you can't afford to lose it or you could never potentially retire. That's just not wise.
Do you have your buckets set up? Do you know what you need to have in the can't lose it bucket versus what you can put in the riskier space? And then how much risk can you really tolerate in that space? Now is not the time to sit on your hands. Now is not the time to play victim. Now is the time to take action. It is your money. Take control of it. At J. Hagan Capital, they can help you do just that. We've got links posted in the show notes to head to our website, which is retirementsolutionshow.com, to start the conversation with Jon and his team about figuring out your options.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.